Hey guys, TrepChains here with a build guide for my Greater Rifts, Gears of Dreadlands, Strafe, Hungering Arrow, Demon Hunter. The Gears of Dreadlands set is a primary skills based damage set. The 2-piece bonus gives 4 seconds of momentum per primary skill attack, stacking up to 20, with this momentum providing 10% extra damage per second of momentum for primary skills, hence stacking to up to 200% primary skill damage. The 4-piece bonus has Strafe shooting primary skills. However, note these do not reset the 2-piece momentum bonus, but do benefit from the primary skill damage boost. While strafing, you gain 60% damage reduction and 8% movement speed per momentum stack. And the 6-piece set, giving primary skills dealing 10,000% increased damage. As I'm moving through the Greater Rift, I typically start with a few primary skills, which is my Hungering Arrow, to get stacks of momentum. The stacks of momentum are shown on your bar with a little flying foot with purple background icon. Then I'll be pretty much holding Strafe for the majority of the Greater Rift. I'm in Strafe 90% or more of the time. While doing that, I will be throwing out a manual Hungering Arrow every few seconds to pick up my momentum stacks. So I want to keep them as close to 20 as possible. Throwing out this manual Hungering Arrow does a few extra things as well. It helps procs my Focus Restraint bonuses. It also procs my Raps of Clarity for survivability, plus my Night Stalker to keep my hatred up. I'll also be using Fan of Knives for that survivability whenever possible. Smokescreen at least every 8 seconds. I run Vanishing Powder to have no discipline cost, and this has a cooldown of 6 seconds minus my cooldown reduction. So this means I should always be able to keep my Elusive Ring bonus up, which lasts for 8 seconds. I have Vengeance on my bar. I want to keep this up full time, 100% uptime if possible, so I need to build enough cooldown into my build to achieve this. If you don't quite have enough cooldown, you've got to be a little bit careful where you're strafing when you come out of Vengeance until you're back in there. And finally, I'll be hitting Wolf, my pet, for a damage bonus. And basically, I can do that whenever I like. That pretty much covers the gameplay, so let's have a look at the build. Taking a look at my gear and skills now for this Gears of Dreadlands Greater Rift Demon Hunter. I'm running 6 pieces of Gears of Dreadlands. Overall, for the 2-piece set, we gain 4 seconds of momentum when attacking with a primary skill to a maximum duration of 20 seconds. And you can see that this is this icon here, the little flying foot with the purple background, up to 20. With these stacks, we get 10% increased damage for our primary skills per second of momentum, so that's stacking up to 200% increased damage there on our primary skills. A 4-piece set, Strafing, will automatically shoot our last use primary skill and give us damage reduction and some extra movement speed there. These primary skills that shoot off of Strafe do have the damage bonuses applied to them and some other primary skill benefits, such as the heals off of Simplicity Strength, but they don't proc the 2-piece bonus. So that's important to remember, as you need to ensure you are firing off one of your primary skills regularly to keep up your momentum seconds. And finally, the 6-piece set here, your primary skills deal 10,000% increased damage, so a straight up boost for any primary skills you're using. Okay, so on my helm here, I'm running Dexterity, Vitality, and Critical Hit Chance. On my shoulders, Dexterity, Vitality, Resistal, and Cooldown. On my gloves, Dexterity, Attack Speed, Critical Hit Damage, and Critical Hit Chance. On my chest, Dexterity, Vitality, and Resistal. On my pants, Dexterity, Resistal, and Hungering Arrow Damage. On my boots, Dexterity, Vitality, Resistal, and Armor. I'm also running Focus Restraint. On my focus here, I've got Critical Hit Damage, Critical Hit Chance, and Cooldown. And on my restraint, Critical Hit Damage, Critical Hit Chance, and Area Damage. It's important to try and have enough cooldown across your build to keep up Vengeance full time. Once you've got your Vengeance up full time, you can consider other damage bonuses like plus damage rolls, area damage, and the like. Hey, supporting legendaries, I'm running a Hellfire Amulet. So on this, I've got cold skill damage, critical hit chance, and I'd really like some critical hit damage Unfortunately, I don't have that, so I've just got some area damage there instead. Importantly, if you're running a Hellfire, make sure you've got a useful passive. So on this, I have Ambush, which is extra damage to enemies above 75% health, so that's pretty handy. Running Raps of Clarity for survivability, so every time I'm shooting out a hatred generator, I'm having my damage reduced by, goes up to 50%. That's on that, I'm running Cold Skill Damage, Dexterity, Vitality, and Critical Hit Chance. Hunter's Wrath. On this, I'm running Dexterity, Vitality, Resist All, and Hungering Arrow damage. Importantly, the orange stat here, your primary skills attack 30% faster and deal 150 to 200% increased damage, so it's important to get that orange stat as high as possible. I've got mine here at maximum. Running Dawn here in my main hand, running this with damage, dexterity, and attack speed, and an orange stat there reducing my cooldown of Vengeance by 63%. It does go up to 65%, so the closer to 65%, the better. In my offhand, I've got my 9th series satchel. This is the Hungering Arrow Quiver. I'm running this with Dexterity, Vitality, Attack Speed, Critical Hit Chance, and Cooldown. My orange stat there is that my Hungering Arrow is doing 590% increased damage. It does go up to 600, so again, closer to 600, the better. It's also important to note that Hungering Arrow is guaranteed to pierce at least the first time. Taking a look at my cube now. I'm running Fortress Ballista here for survivability. Attacks grant you an absorb shield for 3% of your maximum life, stacking up to 10 times, so up to 30% there. So that's really handy for staying alive. It's also important to note this is a one-handed crossbow, and my Dawn's also a one-handed crossbow, and obviously my quiver is a quiver. Because of that setup with 2 one-handed crossbows and a quiver, you can put any of those 3 things into your cube and wear the other 2. Basically wear the 2 that you have better of and put the other one into the cube. Okay, depth diggers, so these are primary skill pants, so they're really important for extra damage. You get up to 100% extra damage on your primary skills. And elusive ring, this is about survivability. Every time I'm hitting my smoke screen, I'm getting that 60% reduced damage for 8 seconds. Normal gems, running cooldown in the Helm. Resist all in the armor. If you are surviving fine, you can consider putting dexterity into the armor for more damage, and critical hit damage into the weapon. Legendary gems now. I'm running Bane of the Trapped for increased damage against enemies under control impairing effects. Simplicity Strength for increasing my damage of my primary skills, plus extra heals from hits coming from my primary skills. And Bane of the Stricken. At higher levels, I do recommend Bane of the Stricken to help you really take down that Rift Guardian. However, if you find you do not have enough cooldown for your Vengeance, you may want to consider running Gurgok of Swiftness instead. So this slot here, either Stricken, if you've got the cooldown you need, great for the boss, or Gurgok of Swiftness for that extra cooldown. Taking a look at my Paragon now. I'm running just over 1,000 Paragon. I've got all points into utility. If I was starting from scratch, I'd be going area damage, then life per hit, then resource cost reduction, and then gold find. All points into defense. If I was doing it from scratch, I'd be going all resistance, percent life, armor, and then life regeneration. All points into offense. If I was running from scratch, I'd be going cooldown reduction, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and attack speed. And over in core, I've got all points into max hatred, all points into movement speed, 100 points into vitality, so that I'm running just under 700,000 life, and the rest of my points there into dexterity. Taking a look at my skill screen now. I'm running Companion Wolf Companion, so that's a bit of a damage boost. But if you're having trouble surviving, you could use Boar there. Or if you feel like you really need some extra hatred, there is also Bat as an option. Strafe, Drifting Shadow, because I like movement personally. Hungering Arrow, Devouring Arrow. I do like Devouring Arrow because each consecutive pierce increases the damage of the arrow by 70%. And we noted on our 9th series satchel that we at least get 1 definite pierce, so that's a worthwhile damage boost there. Banner Knives, Bladed Armor. This is all about survivability. Extra armor, 40% for 6 seconds when you hit it. Smokescreen Vanishing Powder. For higher grade rifts, I really like Smokescreen Vanishing Powder because it's about survivability. I find if I run one of the other runes, I can run out of discipline, and that's a bit of a concern because I'm using this with my elusive ring. So Elusive Rings buff lasts for 8 seconds, and this has a cooldown still of 6 seconds. So as long as I'm hitting this when it's off cooldown, plus I've got some cooldown reduction, I'm always going to keep up my Elusive Ring bonus. And Vengeance Dark Heart, running Dark Heart here because it's about survivability, so I get that 50% damage reduction by running Dark Heart. My preferred passives, I'm running Thrill of the Hunt for slowing of everything hit by my hatred spenders, and Strafe is a hatred spender. Cull the Weak for increasing the damage against those same enemies by 20%. Awareness because I like a cheat death, I don't like to die. And Night Stalker for some extra hatred. You need extra hatred somewhere in your build to be able to strafe 90% of the time. And for my higher greater rifts, I prefer running that via Night Stalker there, keeping in mind I am hitting off my primary skills occasionally. As I mentioned, I also have Ambush via my Hellfire Amulet, so I'm getting that 40% additional damage to enemies above 75% health as well. Okay, I think that pretty much covers it. My Greater Rifts build for Demon Hunter, Gears of Dreadlands, Hungering Arrow with Strafe. Thank you very much for watching, and GG!